Glad to know you're still with us. The Nigerian government recorded an overall deficit of 6.23 trillion naira in half-year 2022 due to revenue shortfall. This was disclosed by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in its recently published Financial Stability Report for June 2022. The report further disclosed that total domestic debt of 24.98 trillion naira was recorded as of ending of March 2022, reflecting an increase of 286.67 billion naira or 1.16% compared with 23.7 trillion naira in end December 2021. Well, joining us for more on this is public affairs analyst Sumbo Badijoko. He joins us virtually. Hello, Sumbo. Thanks for joining us today. If you can hear me, Sumbo, thank you for joining us today.
I can hear you. I said it's good to be here again. Good morning.
All right, good morning. Well, let's dive right in. The CBN has disclosed that the Nigerian government recorded an overall deficit of 6.23 trillion naira in half-year 2022, and that's due to a 2.1 trillion naira revenue shortfall. Talk to us about this.
It's quite unfortunate that we have to meet ourselves at this point again, and we can only link that to the insincerity on part of those who are supposed to be giving us the revenue, and of course the official recklessness of the government. You know, that deficit initially was high because of the debt situation that we have in the country. And if you look at even the budget line, a significant part of the budget will be used to service debts. And you will find a situation where the 2022 budget is not giving much that it ought to give for capital expenditure. And now the projection is falling below what is expected due to the fact that the NNPC is not remitting much. In the past 4 months or thereabout, they've not remitted a dime into the federation accounts. And when you look at that, it's part of what they expect to use as part of the budget, so which is quite unfortunate. And in terms of the other collection agency, in the past, the Customs Service used to do well, but of recent, we are not really knowing what they are actually doing because their remittance is reducing. As well as the FIRS, they're having issues getting a lot of people into the tax net as they propose to have. This combination of what is bringing about the reduction in the revenue, and without an improvement in revenue, it's going to be difficult for the budget to be funded, especially ahead of 2023.
All right, you said something about insincerity. Do you mind probably saying a little more about that?
Yes, when I say insincerity, you find a situation where the priorities of the government in terms of expenditure is still not in line with the current realities. We know we have revenue crisis, and yet the government has refused to cut down its expenditure. You still have the budgets for the executive, for the legislative, still increasing by the day. Meanwhile, we expect this to reduce in terms of cutting costs of governance. There are so many people who are holding offices that we can do without because they all draw salaries from the federation account and from the budget. And of course, you find a situation where the inflation rate is also increasing, which is affecting the common man. And when they hear the humongous amounts that the executive budget is going to take, it's really giving a cause for concern. If cost of governance is reduced, that will give them the avenue to save more money, to be able to reduce the borrowing that they have been embarking upon. And that is exactly what I mean. And of course, you find a situation where maybe in terms of procurement, rather than coming for local alternative, they will still want to import. And frequent importation is not something that is favorable for the economy, let alone our revenue drive, because it's killing the local industries. And these are some things that I mean. These are what I meant by insincerity on part of the government.
All right. When you talked about the cost of governance, reducing it, I was looking at, isn't this going to be a legislative issue where we would have to start the debate and, you know, the conversation around it and all that? There is a lot really you have said that I wish I can take you on all of them. But for time, I think we'll just move on now. When we look at the breakdown of this particular deficit, it's this is a 60.30% shortfall. And in being fair to the economic managers, are there factors that were solely beyond, the internal factors that might have necessitated this performance? I'm asking this because some persons have, alluded some of these things to COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, and some other global issues. They are saying these are some of the factors that have impeded the moves by the federal government to get the economy up and running. What are your thoughts?
When we begin to talk about that, for Nigeria, it's more or less excuses, because COVID-19 was year 2020. That affected significantly that year's budget and that of last year, 2021. But now, even those that were ravaged by the pandemic have since been recovering. And the Ukraine war is not taking place on Africa. In fact, as a matter of fact, if we had gotten our priorities right in the past, we are supposed to be making a lot of money from that war and not be affected in any way, let alone our economy being affected by it. It's just because, for instance, we import petroleum products now from Europe, and Europe is beginning to ration the supplies because of the crisis that they are facing over there. Now, suppose we have our own refinery here. Suppose we've annexed our gas potentials to the fullest. We will even be supplying gas to this Europe that are having energy crisis as we speak. So it's something that is supposed to be to our advantage and not the other way around. So that's why I would not subscribe to that idea of looking at external factors as the case may be.
All right, well, throw back to 2021, when the president spoke about expected expenditure, he was quoted as saying that Nigeria only has a revenue challenge and not a debt sustainability problem. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, what do you make of this statement?
Can you please repeat that? The network was interrupted a little.
All right, I was saying throw back to 2021, when the president spoke about the expected expenditure, he said that Nigeria only has a
The signal is still bad. I can see zero back from there.
I didn't get that. What did you say? Can you hear me? All right, I guess that's some connection issue. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Sumbo Badejoko. Stay with us. Glad to know you're still with us. Thank you, Sumbo Badejoko, for joining us again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right. So before we went on that break, I was asking you about the statement credited to the president, where he was saying that Nigeria doesn't have a revenue problem and that what Nigeria has, well, he said Nigeria only has a revenue challenge and not a debt sustainability problem. So I'm asking, he said that that was in 2021 while he was still talking about the budget. That's the 2022 budget, which we are discussing now. So I'm asking, with the benefit of hindsight, what do you make of this statement?
Yes, he was right. But the question we should ask him is that what has his administration done to improve on the situation? That is the thing. It gave an idea that they gave us that belief that he knows the problem that we're facing. Now, not knowing the problem is the dangerous thing, but knowing the problem is supposed to be a better thing, because now you know the nature of the problem that the country is having. It's more of a revenue problem that is causing the whole thing. That's why the debt ratio is increasing, because we are not making enough money to fund the budget, and we needed to get some extra money through borrowing. Now, what has this government been doing to improve on the revenue? So we've not been meeting our OPEC quota in terms of sales of food. We have this huge conspiracy around oil theft. And we are made to understand that about 70% of the oil production that we make on a daily basis actually being stolen. Now, imagine that oil theft is tackled from the time he made that discovery and now. The government would have been making more money, the leakages would have been blocked. But that has not been done. They only give us revelation. Nobody has been brought to book. Even in terms of importation, how much effort are they really doing to know that NNPC is not playing a fast one on the government? And the subsidy regime is still there. We don't really know the exact, it is only the figure they give to us that we play around with, and that's what we analyze here on air. But the actual subsidy figure is only known to those in NNPC. Has it thought of auditing the NNPC account to really know whether or not they are sincere? Now it has been commercialized. The government is answering off, and they are now using that excuse not to even remit into the federation account again. So it's good he understands the nature of the problem, but the terrible aspect is that not doing anything to tackle that problem.
Well, should this continue, looking at revenue shortfalls and unsustainable borrowing, what would be the impact on the economy and the ordinary Nigerian? Somebody, if you can hear me, I was asking, should this continue, what will be the impact?
I didn't hear the question.
Okay. I was saying, what are the implications of revenue shortfall and unsustainable borrowing on the everyday Nigerian and, of course, the economy at large? Did you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Okay. I was asking you now, I was saying that what is the implication of the situation we find ourselves in now? That's revenue shortfalls and your sustainable borrowing. What's the implication of that on the economy?
I still can't hear you clearly.
Okay. So I was asking, you're talking about this, the fact that, well, you're saying that since the president knew what the challenge was, he should have worked hard to ensure that, he dealt with the issue.
Not grow an economy when you have, and you need huge funding to be able to bridge that deficit, the infrastructural gap that we have. We need to fix power. We have to put a rail network there. We need to fix the road for logistics purpose so that business travel time can be saved. And when all these things are not there, we need to tackle security. When all these things are not there, it will be difficult to really fund the budget and to improve upon the economy.
All right, well, in wrapping up, I'd like you to talk to us about steps that must be taken to boost our domestic investment and also to attract foreign direct investment.
Yes, for quickly, the government will need to really take insecurity head on. The banditry and kidnapping that is currently ravaging the land has to.
Somebody joke, if you can hear me, do go ahead, please. Okay, I think this is a good place to anchor. Many thanks to you, somebody joke, for joining us. What, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, land on that thought, so we'll just close.
Like I said, we need to tap.
All right. Thank you so much, Sumobadi Yoku, for sharing your thoughts with us on the show for today. Still to come after the break, iBrandTV focuses on the newly redesigned Naira notes, which went into circulation on Thursday, and how well are Nigerians accessing the new notes. That's a focus, and when we come back from this break, stay with us.